Hello, everyone. I'm Alyssa Westervelt. I'm the Senior Manager of Donate NYC, and I'm joined today by Julie Raskin. She is the Executive Director of the Sanitation Foundation, and together we put on ReFashion Week, which is in its fourth year. We'll talk a little bit about how we are an unlikely pair to be putting on a fashion show, and all the more unlikely that week of fashion events is put on by the Department of Sanitation. So we'll give you a little bit of background information on the hows and whys of ReFashion Week. So Julie, I'll kick it over to you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Alyssa. My name's Julie Raskin. I'm the Executive Director of the Sanitation Foundation, and we are the official nonprofit partner of DSNY, New York City's Department of Sanitation. And we really exist to expand DSNY's reach and build public-private partnerships and community building activities to get New Yorkers to really join in with sanitation in this big goal to divert waste from landfills. So ReFashion Week is one of the fun projects that we collaborate with DSNY on. We also do a lot of other programs throughout the year, including a food waste fair, obviously focused on reducing food waste, volunteer program, corporate trainings and lunch and learns, a zero waste academy, fashion collaborations, you name it. We've got something going on almost every day of the year.
Excellent. And I should just acknowledge that it says I'm Bridget Anderson because this is our Deputy Commissioner's account, but in fact, I am Alyssa Westervelt.
And I am not Jay Raskin. I am Julie Raskin. Yay, WebEx.
Exactly. Like I said, I'm the Senior Manager of Donate NYC. So we're a program within the Department of Sanitation that deals with all things donations and reuse. So primarily that's 3 online tools for residents, businesses, nonprofits, and city agencies to engage with reuse and keep usable items out of landfill. We also support a partnership of about 70 nonprofits that work in reuse in some capacity. So that could be social services, arts programs, thrift stores, really across the spectrum of nonprofits working in reuse. And then to spread the word about reuse, we do a lot of outreach and events. Our sort of signature event each year is ReFashion Week. So we work together with the Sanitation Foundation to put on this week of events. Generally, it's in February, right after Fashion Week. This year, we postponed it by a few months because of COVID, so we're enjoying a sunnier ReFashion Week this year. So why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit from Donate NYC's perspective about the background of ReFashion Week, but then I also want to throw it over to Julie to talk about how Sanitation Foundation got involved with fashion, because that's a much cooler story. So I'm thinking was probably on the heels of the 2017 waste characterization study that identified that 6% of the residential waste stream was in fact textiles, and that does not even account for the large fashion industry in New York City. So that was a staggering number to come to terms with. On top of the fact that Donate has these amazing partners like Housing Works, Goodwill, FabScrap, who are all doing unique things to both provide social services and protect the environment through reuse. So in 2019, we launched the first ReFashion Week. And it was really, just a way to promote these nonprofits that are, doing amazing things with textile and fashion, and then to do a runway show where we had stylists from the community pull pieces from Housing Works and Goodwill and Big Reuse and Gowanus to create beautiful, unique looks, and we did a whole runway show. Well, that ended up being hugely successful. I think more successful than we had even anticipated, and there was a lot of energy around it. So the next year, we were able to partner with the Sanitation Foundation to grow it and really build in these partnerships, which Julie will talk about a little bit about later on. And so in 2020, we were able to do a kickoff event with a big vendor expo and panels, just a really fun, amazing event. And then a week of events with participants from all over the spectrum of people tackling sustainability through the lens of waste and textile waste specifically. And then it culminated in an amazing runway show with both style pieces and the designers that were working with FabScrap to pull upcycled materials. And at the end, we have a panel of judges that announces winning stylists and designers. So that was a really fun event that was right on the heels of COVID. So in 2021, we were able to do it virtually, but we are so excited, even if it's a little delayed, to have ReFashion Week back in person from April 2nd to April 8th. So we're smack in the middle of it when you see us here. So Julie, why don't you talk a little bit about the foundation and why you got involved in fashion?
Sure. So the foundation actually got its start with a fashion collaboration. And, as I mentioned, we exist to really kind of bridge DSNY, which is a government agency, with the rest of New York City, and particularly businesses in New York City that all have a role to play in reducing waste sent to landfills. So when we got our start in 2016, we were looking for a kind of flashy launch event. And we had this kind of perfect timing with, we were approached by a fashion designer named Heron Preston, who wanted to do something with the sanitation department to draw attention to the problem of textile waste and also to the sanitation workers and draw positive attention to the critical role that they play in keeping the city running. So when he approached the government entity, DSNY, and said, I want to do this clothing line for New York Fashion Week. I want to take some old sanitation worker uniforms and upcycle them. The department was like, well, that's great, but like, we're a government agency. We can't sell clothing. Like, there's so many things about this that we love the idea of, but it's not quite the right fit for an entity that's generally charged with operations of waste management. So the foundation thought this was a great project to get started. We worked with Heron Preston. We were able to obtain some old uniforms donated by sanitation workers who'd been on the job for a while. And he made them into really amazing backpacks and sweatshirts, shirts, tote bags, put together a runway show at a DSNY salt shed facility in Soho, and got tons of attention. Vogue covered it. Again, I think it was one of those moments where the city was like, the sanitation department is doing a fashion show. But it totally made sense. And I think it made a lot of people who were in the more mainstream fashion world think twice about how wasteful the industry is, and how, when rubber meets the road in New York City, how that ends up, at least the post-consumer waste ends up, sanitation workers actually having to haul away this clothing from people's homes. So since then, fashion has been sort of a through line in what we do, but it was really great when we had the opportunity to partner with the Donate team on the ReFashion Week event, because the role we really played there was expanding the reach. So whereas Donate is an incredible network of nonprofits and reuse centers, public institutions, we were able to kind of complete the circle and bring in the private sector partners that we think are really doing the right thing by waste, doing things that are really innovative, whether it's inventory management or 3D printing or upcycling, making new fabric, et cetera. And so I think it's been a really nice kind of way to enrich the program. And, Alyssa's team and my team each bring different things to the table. And I think it creates a more dynamic event.
Yeah, for sure. And so to just speak a little bit to what Julie was talking about, to really frame the amount that DSNY staff was actually having to interact with. According to the 2017 waste characterization study, New Yorkers throw away 200,000 tons of clothing per year. So that's equivalent to 900 Statue of Liberties in 1 year. Or 120 pounds of textile waste per household. So this is just a staggering number. People think of fashion as being like fluffy or sort of not as important, but when you're talking about the environmental impacts of not just creating all these garments that end up in the landfill, but then they sit in the landfill basically forever. And so there's really an environmental impact. And when DSNY just collects for residents. So that's not even tackling the amount of waste that happens on the pre-consumer side. And so that's why the work that Julie's doing, connecting the private sector, is so, so important. So let's dig in a little bit deeper. Can you talk about the importance of partnerships and how that really kind of makes everything go?
Sure. I mean, I think in general, a role that we play is helping businesses, especially any that are headquartered in New York, really see the repercussions kind of firsthand and take a concept that might be very theoretical and make it very tangible. And that's sort of what we try to do with behind the scenes tours and kind of opening up everything that has to go into taking waste away and kind of taking care of it. So I think what we've been able to do with ReFashion Week is use the kind of audience that we have for this event, the reputation we have, and really put a spotlight on the businesses, especially smaller businesses, women-led businesses, minority-owned businesses that are really doing something innovative and giving them a platform in this week to kind of showcase and, for us to sort of be cheerleaders for them as well. Because what we're really trying to create is, a whole world, or at least a whole New York City in which all fashion is sustainable. And we recognize that there's a lot of different ways to go about that.
Yeah, so let's dive into this year's ReFashion Week. So like I said, it started on April 2nd with our big opening expo. We are excited to be hosted by Brooklyn Army Terminal this year. So we were in Sunset Park for a big expo. We had about 30 sustainable vendors. We had two amazing panels, one about materials and the impact that your choice of material can make in terms of waste. And then one titled Expanding the Circle. So it was really about how the circular economy can bring in more voices and champion more voices, which again, as Julie said, is really what ReFashion Week is about, is building that community. And then we will be back at Brooklyn Army Terminal on the 8th for the runway show. We'll have 8 stylists and 5 designers show 2 looks each. The stylists have been pulling pieces from Housing Works, Goodwill, Big Reuse, Cause for Pause, and putting together amazing, beautiful styles for their models. And then we have designers that have been working with FabScrap, who I believe you'll be hearing from next, and Materials for the Arts to pull raw materials, all upcycled, all that could have been, sent to landfill, but instead they're turning them into beautiful outfits for the runway. We have an expert panel of judges, an amazing MC who's going to be doing a drag performance for us, Marty Gould Cummings, which is a tradition within ReFashion Week's runway show. So at the end, the judges will announce a winning stylist and designer who will be featured in next year's lookbook and in other, we'll have some other fun goodies for them announced on Friday. But you can check out all of the events at refashionweek.nyc. So there's a factory tour on Monday night from a company that creates bags out of recycled plastic bags, like tote bags, that were really beautiful at our expo on Saturday. We'll have panel discussions, a podcast recording. Housing Works is launching a Versace collection that they've been holding on to just for ReFashion Week. So check out that schedule. There's going to be so much fun. Can't wait to see everybody out there and see, where we are in a year, where ReFashion Week can really take us. Anything to add before we wrap up?
We have an amazing virtual silent auction.
Oh, yes.
We have items from Heron Preston that you can't get on the open market, Patagonia, some really amazing local designers, some experiences, some classes, tours. So that's also on refashionweek.nyc. Check it out. Bidding is open through Friday night. So yeah.
And our current artist in residence donated.
Oh, yes.
So,
yes.
So Stolen is our current DSNY artist in residence, which also, DSNY has a long history of supporting artists. So it's really excited to have some one-of-a-kind items from him in that auction. So go check it out at all of the events. And thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.